Obstruction is certainly one of the most difficult rules to understand and the most often misapplied rule in baseball. One of the reasons for the difficulty is that not every rule set has the same rules on how to deal with obstruction. This can cause problems when playing under multiple rule sets as a travel baseball team. It can also cause problems when the umpire officiates under multiple rule sets and confuses which he or she should be using. For the sake of the main video clip, we will be using OBR rules, which apply to both Little League and Major League Baseball. The definition of obstruction is the act of a fielder who, while not in possession of the ball and not in the act of fielding the ball, impedes the progress of any runner. There's type A and type B obstruction. We're going to be concerning ourselves with type B obstruction, which is any time a runner is obstructed when a play is not being made on that runner. I will leave a link in the description to the Umpire Bible website. They have a great page explaining obstruction in detail. They also have links to the high school and OBR rules. Little League rules are available through their rules app. In high school, the obstruction is a delayed dead ball. On the conclusion of action, the umpire will call time and award bases to nullify obstruction, but always a minimum of one base beyond the point of the obstruction. Therefore, under high school rules, this fairly incidental contact will require the umpire to send the runner to third, despite there being no chance this would have occurred without the runner bumping into the fielder. Now, I am not an expert of any sort when it comes to the high school rules, so the following comments are strictly from what several umpires that officiate high school told me, often using the phrase, "What was he obstructed from?" They simply do not call this obstruction. This avoids having to award ridiculous bases on fairly innocuous situations. Not to mention, calling this obstruction in high school simply encourages runners to adjust their path to target an obstruction call. Again, I'm just telling you what I heard from other umpires, not what I heard from official rule classes. Now on to our main video clip. This is from the Little League World Series Central Regional game from 2018, and the following occurred.
And he said, oh no, we're not at that point. Towards center field, fielded actually by the second baseman will get the force. It's a lot softer than I thought. So an important out there. Well, the runner is out at third. The only thing is J.J. Drews hasn't left yet.
You know what I don't know what they're doing here. The only thing that I saw in there was they're going to start talking about interference or something, because there was a collision between the shortstop, or I thought they ran into each other, the base runner and the fielder out there.
Let's take a look. Right there.
Yep.
So in that case, who's got the right of way?
Now, you have a right to field the ball.
And it's not reviewable, and there has been an out recorded here. So,
well, we saw the interference earlier when there was a pop-up and the batter actually ran into the first baseman.
Number 11, Keegan Jersley.
I heard a mom holler, what's he doing on third base? This gets...
I just wonder, you got to give the infielder an opportunity to field it, but the question is, I mean, was it the second baseman that was fielding that ball and the shortstop got in the way of the runner?
Call has been confirmed, and we've been told it is not a reviewable play. But home plate umpire John Chirilla was checking nonetheless. Umpires can go to the monitor too. Now there are two outs. Runners at first and second. I don't think to anybody's surprise, John, in these tight games, we've had a lot of reviews.
Using the OBR and Little League rules, why did this runner still get called out? Post your answers in the comments below and let me know if you think that he should have been called out or not, or how this play should have been officiated. For this video, we're going to assume that the umpires got everything correct. The reason that this runner was still called out is because the rule says to impose such penalties, if any, as in the judgment will nullify the act of obstruction. In the umpire's judgment, the runner, who was forced, would have been thrown out at third regardless of the obstruction. So to nullify the act of obstruction is to call the runner out still. Obviously, if this were a high school game, this runner would have been safe at third. What if this runner was not forced? Had there been no runner on first, this act of obstruction would have protected the runner from being put out, as he had a reasonable opportunity to be safe had the obstruction not occurred. And the base awarded would depend on how the play progressed. So, with Type B obstruction, we do not have an automatic base award, and we don't necessarily have a runner protected from being put out. There are no guarantees, just imposed penalties to the defense, if any, that would nullify the act of obstruction. Here's another example. This runner was obstructed. The umpire can call obstruction and wait for the play to develop. After all play is over, he calls time and awards additional bases if necessary. If the runner already reached the base where he would have reached, then you simply ignore the obstruction call. Here, the call should have been ignored and the runner left at third, but for reasons only this umpire and God know, he was given home due to the obstruction. At the youngest ages, the most common obstruction is at first base. The first baseman will simply stand on the bag as if expecting a throw even while the ball is in the outfield. This forces the runner to alter his path to go around him, which is obstruction. Contact again is not required. Simply ask, did the fielder, without possession of the ball or in the act of fielding a hit ball, impede the progress of the runner? If yes, then that's obstruction. If this runner is then called out on a bang-bang play at second, the umpire calls time and calls the runner safe for the obstruction at first. However, just because the umpire calls obstruction does not mean the runner is automatically protected for the remainder of the play. In practice, I would not signal this obstruction unless a double was possible. Simply being forced around the first baseman on a hit ball that is clearly a single would not likely justify calling Type B obstruction, at least in my humble opinion. For more on obstruction, check out these videos here.